Hey, I'm Vanessa. Welcome to my channel. In last week's video, I shared with you guys the most simple tools that I could think of for retouching photos. In this video, we're getting a little bit more advanced and I'm going to be showing you guys how to do frequency separation. So what frequency separation is really kind of taking your image and separating it into a texture and a color layer so that you can edit these things separately. It's really super handy, and it's going to get you better results than just the simple tools I showed you in the last video. So for this video, I decided to take a not so clean self-portrait of myself. This one, I've got some skin issues, lots of under eye bag. It's not looking cute, but we're gonna see what we can do with it. I felt like I kind of cheated you guys a little bit last week when I used a fairly decent photo of me already that didn't need a lot of retouching. So this one is gonna need some more work. And so let's get into that. Okay, here's this image of me where I am not looking so cute. Of course, you can go ahead and do all the stuff that I did in the first video, but I'm going to skip that stuff and try to just use new things for this video. So the first thing that I'm gonna wanna do here is, because I don't have my layers panel up, is open up my layers panel here. And I'm going to make 2 copy layers. Control J, Control J. I'm going to title this layer color layer, and I'm going to title this one texture. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to turn off this texture layer and go on to the color layer. Here I am going to go down to, from filter in the menu, down to blur and then Gaussian blur. I'll zoom this out. And so this is your color layer. You don't really need to save any of the details. You just want to get a smoother color to go off of. And I usually go around 10, click OK. And we have our color layer ready to go. Now for the texture layer, we can turn this back on, select it, go up to image, apply image. And in this panel here, we're going to want to not have it merged. We want to now select the color layer because these 2 layers are going to basically be working together. And the blending mode, onto subtract. Opacity 100%, scale 2, offset 128. Right now, it looks like a very faint kind of outline of some stuff. These are the textures here. We click OK. And if we change this layer to linear light in the blend modes tab, now these 2 layers together give us essentially the original image. In between them, I like to add another layer that is empty. New layer, OK. Just an empty layer. And this is my painting layer. You don't have to do this step. You can paint directly onto the color layer. I just find it a little bit easier to make adjustments as I go if I have this extra layer here. Now I'm going to select all 3 of these layers, right click, group from layers, FS for frequency separation, so that when I am editing, I can toggle on and off the entire group and see the differences made between this and the original image. So now we can get started editing our separate layers. I like to edit on the texture layer first. So usually what I would do is go and grab the spot healing brush tool, and then I would come and click on anything that's a texture issue. So some of the texture here, it will get rid of that, but it will not get rid of the redness. So that is what I would do for any small things. If I have larger areas that need to have issues addressed though, like maybe down here on my chin, this is another tool that I would use for anything that's not, you know, just like a one small blemish. It's kind of more of an area. And that would be the patch tool. So right here's the patch tool. It's a picture of a little patch. And what you do is you just select the area that you want to edit and you drag it to a nearby area. I like the patch tool for areas that are bigger because I find that with the spot healing brush tool, yes, you can kind of just color like this, but it more blurs it. Whereas if you were to take the patch tool and drag it to another area, you get the other area's texture. So instead of being super blurry, you're still retaining some skin texture overall. So I hope you could see the difference there between that. I know it's very subtle, but when you're editing, you should be able to tell the difference between coloring a whole big spot with the spot healing brush versus using the patch tool to still get some skin texture, but remove the issues that you're trying to edit. So I'm going to be using the patch tool on this photo to show you guys the difference between patch tool versus what I was doing the last time. Okay, so I'm going to toggle this on and off, and we're going to see the difference that editing the texture made with the patch tool. So you can see that some of the details have been taken out, but we still have the color issues to fix. And that's where I'm going to start working with this painting and color layer. There's two different things that I do with my painting and color layer. And one of them is I do use the patch tool also on the color layer. So I'm going to just turn off this texture layer here, go directly onto the color layer. And I think a really good example to show you is this red spot right here. So I can circle this and pull it to another area and it will blend it seamlessly. So now when I turn on the texture layer, both of the color and the skin texture issues have been fixed. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that on my color layer for anything that's really obvious and going to be very easy to just patch tool it out. And then after that, I'm gonna work on the painting layer. Okay, so let's take a look at the difference that has made now. Now you might be wondering why I didn't patch underneath the eyes. I find that sometimes when I do that, it's too strong of an effect. So I'm going to show you what it does and then delete that and use the painting layer to deal with the under eye issue. So this is what it would look like if we were to patch the under eye area. And that actually doesn't look too bad. Sometimes when I do it, it's too strong and it becomes too light, but that worked okay. So let's just keep that, and then on the other side, I'll do the painting. So now that I've selected my painting layer, I will grab the paintbrush tool, and on a very low opacity, because if you do it on a high opacity, I'll show you. We select a color by pressing Alt, we get this little dropper, we pick our color, and then we paint. And if we pick a really high opacity, this is what I'm talking about, it starts to look not quite realistic. And sometimes that's something that the patch tool can do as well. So I'm going to delete that, Control Z, and I'm going to lower the opacity because I would rather build up the effect as needed than just like full on paint something too strong there. So now I can paint this in just lightly and blend it a little bit more. So I feel like the color that I chose, it's too bright for over in this corner. So I'm going to select something closer to that corner and blend it better. And then you can get a little bit more specific with where you want the color to be versus just using the patch tool on the whole area. And if you find that some of the spots, like in here, some of these spots aren't really disappearing, they might be more on the texture layer. So I'm going to select the texture layer, spot healing brush tool, and if I give this a click, yeah, it's taking those out. So just be wary that like if you keep painting and painting and something's not coming out, it's because it's on the texture layer. So this is toggling on and off. And you can keep going with the painting layer until you're happy with the results. I'm going to do the under eye area as well as the chin area, some of the shadows and redness in the chin, as well as right here between the eyebrows. And this is better than dodge and burn, because with dodge and burn, you're just lightening and darkening. Whereas if I'm using the painting layer, I'm very specifically selecting a color that I want to use. So if something is too red, like I feel like there's some redness down here on my chin, I can pick a color that's not as red and more peachy. If I was just going to dodge that area to brighten it up, it's not really doing anything about the red tones. This is where you're going to get more control over your colors, as well as the bright and darkness of your image. But of course, you can also have a dodge and burn layer as well and work on that in addition to doing this frequency separation with the color painting. I totally forgot to press record on a couple things here. So let's just take a look at what we've got going on. I'll let you guys have a look at this. This is the painting layer that I've been working on. Here's this color layer with the texture and painting layer not activated. And I'm going to click on the painting layer. And this is where I have gone a little bit brighter on the chin, brought in some more shadows underneath the chin area to define that a little bit more. I have also brightened up the under eye by grabbing a cheek color, evened out some of the skin tones on the forehead, and I'm just working on filling in the eyebrows. So I am just working on the painting layer, and the more that you work on the painting layer, the more you'll be able to start seeing issues in the texture layer that you want to work on. So then you kind of just bounce back and forth as you see the issues kind of start to come out. Because like I said, with the texture layer, sometimes you'll think it's a color issue, but it's actually being picked up in the texture layer. So as you work on your painting layer, more and more things might become more noticeable with the texture layer, and you'll have to go back and touch those up before moving on with the painting and just kind of work back and forth to get the desired look. I'm going pretty heavy on this edit just because I want to give you guys like a pretty dramatic difference. I think I've already got a pretty dramatic difference. This is looking like mugshot sort of look, and then this is, you know, a much cleaner, nicer day kind of look without being too fake. So I'm going to do some more painting right now, finish coloring in the eyebrows, maybe do some like contour highlight stuff like I would normally do if I was going to be putting makeup on, and clean it up even a little bit more than where it's at right now. But I think it's really coming along very nicely from what we started with. So this is exactly why I like working on a painting layer versus right on top of the colored layer. If you take a look at my hairline here, as I was blending the forehead area, I went a little bit too high with the color. So it's making my hairline look a little strange right here. But because it's not directly on the color layer, I can just take the eraser tool and come back in and erase that out so that my hairline is looking more natural again. So you can, of course, go in and use these same tools on the hair with the flyaways. If you want to paint in some shine or some low lights or whatever you need to do with the hair, you can go ahead and do that. I'm not going to go that far with this edit. I'm just working on the face for today. And let's take a look at the before. Not looking so cute, looking like I had a really rough couple days. And the after. Simple, clean, still looks like me, but way totally fresher looking way fresher. This is where I'm going to leave this edit. I want to keep these retouching videos in kind of like bite-sized pieces. I know for beginners, which is like my target audience, trying to watch something from start to finish, like 4-hour long retouching, high-end, whatever, it can be a little overwhelming and intimidating, not to mention really dry and boring. So if there's something specific that you want to see next, like teeth whitening or whatever, just let me know in the comments and I will make sure to do a video about that as well. But for now, I think with the 2 videos that I have out, you guys should be well on your way to editing your self-portraits and feeling a little bit more confident with Photoshop when it comes time to edit. No matter how terrible your self-portrait may be, like this one, which maybe I should be a little bit embarrassed to be showing, but for the purpose of demonstration, I think that it is well worth it to have a really rough looking photo of myself on YouTube. So it's for you. You're welcome. I hope that you guys can feel a little bit better about going in and editing your self-portraits. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to watch more videos about self-portraits, creative photography, all that good stuff. And we'll see you next week.